What is up, everyone? My name is Ross, and today I have a quick Photoshop tip for all you creatives out there on how to take a flat, boring photo like this and turn it into a masterpiece like this. We're going to add a little bit of a glow and some effects today, so let's get right into it. The first thing I'm going to do, as always, is duplicate the layer just to work non-destructively. And once we have that set, I'm going to hit Command-Shift-N to create a new layer. And I'm going to fill this, I believe. I'm going to try something different this time. We're going to work in grayscale, and I'm going to show you why, because it's more flexible this way. So basically just pick any gray color for your foreground and another dark gray or closer to black for your background. Hit the G to bring up your gradient tool, and it's got this preloaded still, so let's set these colors. Just go gray. Set this one to dark gray, darkish gray. Hit OK. And what I want to do is I want to have the radial gradient tool selected. It'll be the second option up here in the toolbar. And we're just going to click in the middle and drag a gradient out. That might be a bit big. Let's try that. And I'm going to set this to hard light. Now, this looks like we really messed up the photo right here, but what hard light's doing is it's going to create this kind of lighting effect that we want on the image. But of course, we don't want it this harsh. Well, maybe you want it that harsh, but that's not what we're getting after today. So what I'm going to do is add another adjustment layer on top of this, and I'm going to grab the hue and saturation, and I'm going to clip it by clicking this icon here. And when we have that clipped, now we can add color to this, and this is why I wanted to work in black and white or grayscale, because it gives us more flexibility down the road to kind of manipulate the colors that we want to apply this lighting effect on the image. So for this image, it's got this blue feel to it, so we're going to stick kind of in this blue area on the color spectrum, and we can push more color into it, make it lighter. That's looking pretty neat. I'm going to grab this and I'm going to just transform it to make it a little bit bigger and reposition it slightly. I'm going to hit OK there. So let's go back here. Maybe I don't want it that saturated, and maybe I want it to be more in that blue area. So that's not too bad, but it still kind of looks flat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click here, go to blending options, and once again, this is another tool I use a lot. It's the blend if tool. And what the blend if does, it's going to either protect your shadows or highlights on the underlying layer or the current layer that you're on. So for instance, if I pull this all the way to the right, you'll see how it's starting to protect or not apply that current layer to the dark areas of the layer below. It's kind of confusing, but once you get the hang of it, it's a really useful tool, especially when you're working with lighting techniques and lighting effects within Photoshop. So I'm going to just feather this slightly, not too much. I want it to be a subtle effect. So this is the before, this is after. It just kind of knocks that effect down just a touch. That's not looking too bad. The next thing I want to do is do a brightness contrast. Oops, not that. Brightness and contrast adjustment layer. Excuse me. In here, we can tweak this even further. I think I might want to bring down the contrast, and I might want to brighten this a bit. That's not so bad either. Do I want contrast? Maybe I want contrast. Contrast isn't bad. Actually, I'm going to push contrast in. That's looking pretty good. So that's before, that's after. That's not too bad. I want to protect the highlights here though, so I'm going to go blending options here again. And now I'm going to pull from the right. You can see what it's doing. It's going to protect the highlights. As I pull this in more towards the shadow, it protects the highlights more in the midtones. So I'm going to feather this, and once again, to feather that, you just option click one of these caret toolbar markers, and this will feather the effect on the layer. So you can see if I can feather it all the way, oops, and you can see how it kind of just knocks the effect down. I want to pull this out though, because I want to protect those highlights down there. I'm going to hit OK. So that's looking pretty good. I'm going to hit Command Option Shift E to merge this in a new visible layer to the top, and I'm going to go to my favorite filter of all, as you know by now, Camera Raw filter. And here I'm just going to push more color into it and just tweak the image to my liking. This is where you get creative with it. You have fun with it from here on out. I might want to put more contrast into it. I want to protect some of those shadows. The highlights are okay. I'm going to push white into it to just bump up some more contrast as well and add clarity. Now I don't want to go too much on the clarity. I'm going to show you another technique once I get out of Camera Raw that I like to use to sharpen an image, and that's going to actually, I think it works better than using the clarity toolbar within Camera Raw, but I do push the clarity in Camera Raw every once in a while to see just how it affects the image. I'll pump up some vibrance and pull out some saturation. I'm going to hide these clipping warnings for a second so I can see what my image looks like. I'm not too concerned with the clipping on this image because it was a dark image to begin with. Let's see. I don't think I really want to mess with the hue. Maybe push the blues to more of an aqua. And same with the purples. Push them more towards blue. And then lastly, I'm going to dehaze it, and that just kind of knocks down some of the highlights or the haziness in the photo. There's not much haze here, but if I overdo this, you can see it basically just adds another level of contrast to it. So I don't want to do too much there. And then as always, add a slight vignette to that. I'm going to hit OK. So this is our before and after Camera Raw. It just really punches it up, I think. A few things I want to do to finish this photo or image off. I'm going to hit Command Shift N to create a new layer. I'm going to go overlay on the blend mode, and that's going to allow me to fill it with a 50% neutral gray and hit OK. And once again, I'm going to go to Camera Raw. And if you've been watching my tutorials from now on, I also like to do this to add some noise into the photo. It just gives it kind of that film effect that I enjoy. To each their own, right? If you don't like it, you don't have to add it, but I like to add it and knock the opacity down to like 20 or 30%. It doesn't do much. I'm actually going to zoom in so you can see. It doesn't do a whole heck of a lot, but you can see how it just kind of unifies the image and gets rid of some of the muddiness in some of the areas. So we're going to do that. And then I wanted to show you the other way that I like to sharpen images. I'm going to hit Command-Option-Shift-E again to merge a layer to the top. And I'm going to go to Filter, and I'm going to go down to Other and High Pass. And you can tweak this to your heart's content. The lesser amounts or less pixels are going to be more refined sharpening on the image, and the higher you go is going to be more a larger scale, if you will. So I'm going to put it kind of in the middle because I kind of want to just sharpen up the staircase here. I'm not too concerned with the detail in the water down here, but I might have to just mask that out because it just might be overkill. So I'm going to hit OK, and it looks like hell right now, but we're going to go back here and work with our blending modes, and we're going to change the blending mode to either overlay or soft light. I'm going to check overlay, and that might be a bit harsh. I actually like what it's doing in the stairs, so I'm going to leave it with overlay, and I'm just going to add a layer mask to this and mask out what it's doing down below here in the water detail. Cool trick with the mask that if you're working with layer mask, one cool tip or trick is you can obviously feather this by adding a Gaussian blur filter to it, but you can also use the feather tool here in the properties of the layer mask. So if you're on your layer, it's not going to show you these details, but if you're on the layer mask, I can feather this, and if I bump it all the way up, you can see what it does. It pretty much just does a massive Gaussian blur to it. So I want to go somewhere in the middle here. I don't want to go too much. Maybe right about there. There you go. I like how it's adding a nice sharpening to the layer, or the stairs there on this new layer. And that's all I've got for you today. Let's take a look at the before and after. I'm just going to group these. This is the before, kind of a boring photo, and this is the after. You can do a lot and achieve a lot with layering, multiple layers, working with your hard light blending mode, your blend if options to get those cool lighting effects within Photoshop. And those are kind of the tools that I use to add a glow or more contrast to a photo. Guys, I hope you like what I threw down today. If not, let me know. If you did, also let me know. If you have any ideas for future tutorials, let me know, because I'm always trying to learn new things and I want to help you guys learn new things. And as always, work smarter, not harder, and I'll see you guys next Tuesday. Peace out.